So I just kind of want to even some of the stuff out a little bit. If I decided to use a primitive there, it would be perfect, but it's okay. It's kind of not worth the hassle for something as small as that. Pretty easy to just do it. So I can see I've got this edge there and I've got that edge there, so it's actually going to make it pretty easy to just kind of come in. Not that these are connected, but it certainly doesn't hurt for things to be somewhat consistent. Let's fix the spacing here a little bit. What I want in terms of the spacing is I'd like things to be as even as possible, right? So like it wouldn't make sense to have this edge down here and then have this big edge up there, or this big face up here. So if I can just kind of keep things in the center of the geometry that they're helping to describe, it just makes it all look a little bit better. And I don't really, guess I've got some round stuff down here. Maybe it makes sense to just come over and do this part first. But I was going to say I can probably like I've got two edges that want to come down this way. I can probably just use one for all this stuff, just like I've got down here. Very important to use the lowest number of faces possible, and I can see I've got something over here, so I might just try to do something like that. It may not end up working out, maybe a little bit too much to try to get all that stuff. Mostly that's probably just a little bit too faceted, and you can see that pretty easily. But this is kind of what I'm talking about with like doing the more complex areas first and then making the simple areas conform to what is required by the complex areas. So I'll just come over here and take care of this circular feature. That's probably safe there. So now I know this is what that little hole is going to require. Something like that. And now I can come over for our little slot feature here and take care of this. And just try to keep everything nice and organized. So we'll start with our main point there. That I think we can connect. And then there we go. And that we're going to go right over the top of. Feeling a little bit confused about that, so I'll just add a point to help it out a little bit closer to what it is I'm trying to make happen. And because I don't have a lot going on over here in terms of horizontal edges, I don't really want to add a bunch over here, although I may need to depending on what's going on with this stuff. And I think this is probably not visible either. So yeah, you can't tell that those little those holes are there. So I'm just going to go right over all that stuff. And I'm trying to avoid having to click inside that surface, just as I want this whole all that stuff to be coplanar. I may need to go and make some adjustments once I'm done with the retop. Let me show you what I'm talking about on that front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just leave quad draw. Actually, let me enable quad draw. I'm going to grab this face and or these little verts here, and I'm just going to move them so that they're on the inside, so you can see now what's going on there. It's not really what I'm looking for. Turn off quad draw. I'm going to hide the high poly. So I want these to be, I want this whole thing to be coplanar, except for like that, you know, the inset edges there and that little angle. So what I'm going to do is just grab these verts and we go to the top view. Go to scale mode. So I've got some kind of, I'm going to turn live surface off because it's still trying to conform to the live surface. We can basically scale everything flat and then just use move to scoot it up so that it's close enough. So that's the solution if I inadvertently like click and snap these verts into some part of the surface that's a little bit odd. It's an easy fix. All right, so let me go back to quad draw and we'll make this thing visible again. Make it live. So now the stuff is all floating where it's supposed to be. And I want to make sure I capture this round edge there, but I definitely don't need too much extra geo. Maybe a little more than that because it is fairly easy to see. Just add a new edge loop there with the control button. So you can see I now have 3 edges coming together with an area that's only got 1. Oh, we'll just, for now, we can just add a couple more to make this easy to resolve. So I'm just going to follow this around. And I don't know for sure that I have a consistent depth on there. In fact, it would probably be impossible for me to have a consistent depth on there. But I think it's probably going to be okay. And it looks like there's another, like it's a pretty big curve. So I'm just going to add one more row here. Arguably, you could get rid of this middle row. If this was like if I was making an LOD of this asset, which is like a cheaper version for as it gets further from the camera, this would definitely be on the chopping block. But if it's like somebody's going to take a real hard look at it and make sure it's perfect portfolio piece kind of thing, then it's probably better to just go ahead and include it. So I shouldn't have added those because I've got this circular edge in here and I'm going to need to support that. Go to quad draw. Oh my gosh. So I just hit W again. It's a hard habit to get out of. W being move. But you don't have to do anything to move the verts. You just, when you're in quad draw mode, you just grab them and move them. All right, so now I can see I'm going to want to make sure that I'm lining these edges up here. So I've got that edge, I can just kind of scoot it up, snap it in. Get a little bit of breathing room over there for these. Even out the spacing a little bit. And then I think I'm going to, there's not really a reason to run an edge all the way down there. So I'm going to do this instead. Not sure how to do it in quad draw mode, but I'd like to, basically what I want to do is that, and then I want to just bring that up and collapse it. So I'm sure there's some way to do this, but I'll clean that up once we get into object mode. just basically go to edge mode, double click it, hold control and backspace, goes away, and then back into quad draw. And then this thing here, probably wishful thinking. Can delete it. See if it'll let me do what I want. There we go. And it knows I've got that edge loop coming in over there, so I think what I'll do here is maybe just simplify this a bit. It's not really describing a change in the silhouette anyway, so we can get rid of it. So you can see we'll basically add an edge where we need it. That's maybe not the best place to put that. Probably up there would have been a little bit safer because that's pretty flat and this has a change in the silhouette. So I am going to, we'll just hop into object mode for a second. I'm going to hold control backspace and then I'm going to grab these verts, this one, and we'll just go to mesh, edit mesh connect. Sorry, I got to make sure that one's connected. And then we go back into quad draw and I can scoot it up. Again, there's probably a simple way to do that with quad draw, but it's hard to get much simpler than just the poly modeling. Okay, well I can see them over time. So in the next video we're going to go ahead and finish this piece, and then after that I think I'll probably just speed up the process unless there is something specific that I want to call out.